I will talk about what do we do in our company. The company was established in May 2014, 10 years ago, and it is equally owned by Croatian Energy Market Operator and Croatian Transmission System Operator. It was actually established in order to make a central place where you can trade with electricity on day-ahead and intraday market. Day-ahead market means that you are trading today for the electricity that you will use tomorrow, and intraday is actually trading inside the day. It is a trading in anonymous and transparent way, so you don't know with whom you are conducting your trades and with whom you are actually exchanging the electricity. Cropex was established as a NEMO power exchange, nominated electricity market operator, which means that he is obliged to provide day-ahead and intraday market coupling with the rest of Europe. So Croatia now as a country is coupled with the rest of European countries, so we can exchange electricity throughout the borders over our trading platform. The headquarters is as stated here in Zagreb. How it actually started, so in 2013 in Electricity Act it was given a decision that Hops and Hrote needed to establish the first power exchange in Croatia, so they signed the agreement on establishing it in the same year, and then in May 2014 Cropex was established. After that, it was needed for us to find the provider of a PCR algorithm. This is a price coupling of region. It was an initiative which actually had the aim to develop one integrated place where the prices and volumes would be calculated in the same way. So this means we have one unique algorithm for calculation of electricity prices and of the individual market electricity via available transmission capacity that can be transformed from one border to the other. In 2015 we decided to take Nord Pool Spot as our service provider. This is a Norwegian company, Norwegian Power Exchange, that was actually the first world's multinational power exchange, established 30 years ago, and they are now actually operating in most of European countries. This means that we have actually we use their platform for our members for their trading. So we signed the cooperation agreement with them in the same year in June, and then in July we delivered an operational agreement as well. After what we actually started with operation of our day-ahead market. So this is how it looked in the last 10 years. In 2016 we launched the day-ahead market. Then 1 year later we established also the intraday market. You will be able to see how it looks actually on our platform, how they look like, how you can trade. I will show you that later. In 2018 we coupled to the rest of Europe through Slovenian border. As I said, if you are not coupled to the rest of Europe, you are working almost as an isolated island, and you can trade only inside that country. So when you couple, you can actually transfer the electricity for day-ahead and intraday over the border, across the border. In 2019, we also launched the Guarantees of Origin auctions, Diesel Losses auction, Eco-Balance Group auctions. These were all additional auctions providing some additional possibility of trading for our members. Then in the same year, we coupled to the rest of Europe an intraday market. In 2021, we introduced the possibility of algorithmic trading on our markets, which I guess you will try to do in the next few days in your case study. And in 2022, we used this new project, so-called core flow-based market coupling, where then we coupled over the other border, with the Hungarian border, and day-ahead market, which additionally gave our members possibility if Croatian power futures. Those are long-term contracts for 1 month in ahead to, I don't know, 4 years in advance and so on. But these are the products that are not traded on Cropex. They are traded on European Energy Exchange, the other platform. But they use our prices as a signal for calculation of long-term products. And at the beginning of this year, we also provided 15-minute products for our members, which means they can now trade closer to delivery itself. So we can now have quarter-hourly trades in one day. So considering that they had an intraday, which are the main things that we work in Cropex, we have today 31 day-ahead and 25 intraday members. They come from all over Europe, Denmark, Czech, Poland, Slovenia, Serbia, and so on. If you are just looking at one day in our company, what do we do actually, like the basics? We get available cross-border capacities in a period from 8 to 10 in the morning. This available cross-border capacity actually gives us the number of electricity that can be transferred from Croatia to Slovenia, Hungary, or any other country, as well as the capacity that can be transferred to Croatia. From 8 to 12 o'clock, our buyers and sellers are actually entering orders into the trading platform. This is only for day ahead, so for the electricity you will use tomorrow, and for intraday you can make your trades all the time. You will see it in the platform later on. When you enter the orders, you have time until 12 o'clock every day, because at 12 o'clock we have gate closure time, so then the trading platform is closed and all the orders that are entered are going into the calculation in this PCR algorithm that I mentioned at the beginning. And after that, with those cross-border available cross-border capacities and the orders that are given inside the platform, we calculate the prices and volumes for each hour. So you have 24 products. Every hour has its own price and volume that is accepted for every country in this market coupling project. After that, from 1 to 3 o'clock, our colleagues from the finance department are making invoices and sending them to all our traders so they can pay for the electricity or get the money for the part that they sold. So, as I said, the Agri market, this is the central auction held every day for the delivery of electricity next day. We have orders for the purchase and sale of electricity, and the price is calculated in a way that we actually sum all the supply orders and on the other side all demand orders. And where they cross, this is the marginal price or the single price, reference price, whatever you call it, which is actually a product of some supply and demand curve. And there is one price for each hour, so we have every day 24 prices. There are actually two possibilities of price calculation, because we are now in this couple project in the whole Europe. The price is calculated in the same way, so you get all supply and demand curves from each country, and also the transmission capacities between the borders. And if there is enough transmission capacity between the borders, then the prices in each country are the same. If there is not enough transmission capacity, then you get the congestion on the border and the difference in the price. As you can see here in the graphs on the left side of the slide, the electricity usually goes from the lower price area to higher price area. So you can lower also the price where it is really high. It goes until there is enough transmission capacity. When there is not transmission capacity anymore, it stops, and then the prices are, or for equal, or they have difference in a way, like here on the right side, where you can see this price spread, where in the lower price area the price is still lower than from the other side. So these are all the countries that are working in this coupling project. There are 27 members actually, and Ireland, for example, it is now sort of working as an isolated state because it has no physical connection to the rest of Europe due to the Brexit. They have some projects that in 2027 they will have a cable from Ireland to France, and they will be again physically connected, so they will be a complete part of the rest of the Europe. This is the volume that was traded in the last year on our power exchange. All in all, there was around 7.3 terawatt hours of electricity traded, and in average this is around 800 for every hour. So this volume became higher and higher over the years, and of course this coupling in between the countries helped to higher it as well. Every day we actually check the prices and volumes of all the other countries in the European Union, mostly our neighboring countries. Here, for example, BSP Slovenian Power Exchange, CEPEX Serbian Power Exchange, HUPEX Hungarian, EPEX is Austrian and Germany, CROPEX Croatia, and GME Italy. GME is coupled to the rest of Europe only through its northern part of country. So they have usually higher prices because they have a congestion between the country itself. Otherwise, more or less, all of the, and CEPEX is not a part of this market coupling project. That's why its curve is a bit different from the others as well. Other countries are actually more or less every day following the prices, so the prices are really the same from country to country. But then sometimes also we have a congestion in the borders, as I said, when there is not enough capacity between the borders, and then you have messy curves like there on December 2022, when there was actual congestion on the Croatian-Slovenian border. So there was a large sale, big amount on the sale side, and no demand. So and there was not enough capacity to actually move the electricity to Slovenia. This is how the volume increased over the years on CROPEX. At the beginning, when we started, we had just a few members, and the volume was really low. Then we coupled in 2018 with through the border of Slovenia to the rest of the Europe, and the volume immediately increased. Then also COVID happened, which increased the prices on electricity. This peak volume means it was due to the high production from hydropower plants. So this happened not only in Croatia but also in the rest, in the whole part of Europe, and because we are all coupled, that also influenced our volume. Then the war in Ukraine also interrupted gas supply from Russia. The prices of gas increased, and also after that the prices of electricity. So as you can see, we had the prices of around 500, 600 euros. This is an average. There was sometimes also 3,000 plus for 1 megawatt hour. And after coupling with through the Hungarian border, it additionally increased the volume. Anyhow, we have also the possibility of setting the negative prices on our platform. So what does it mean? That you will actually get the electricity and get the money sunny and in some parts of Europe also windy, so again renewables have increased the volume of negative prices. As you can see here, most of them are happening on weekends, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and also most of them are you can get them at night, but in the last few years also in the afternoon, due to the solar power plants that are producing electricity mostly in those hours from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening. This is our day-ahead platform. I will show it now to you just a second. It looks like this, or not.
Je naše krepalo svojime. Sam ga zamijeniti. Šta je tu? Šta je svojime?
Pa neće mi se prebaciti na internet sa prezentacije. Znači kao sam izašla iz presenter view-a.
Na displeju nešto. I sad duplikuje vjerojatno najbolje.
Okay. So this is how our day-ahead platform looks like. This is a member testing platform. So here you have a date. Here you can choose the auction for which you are trading, but let's say that we are trading normal day-ahead platform. So today you are buying electricity for tomorrow. You can only see your company and your portfolios. Portfolios are just, I don't know, some people have divided buy or sell side, so they are dividing it by portfolios, but it doesn't matter. You can put buy and sell side both on in one portfolio. You will see it now in a minute. So our members can put curve order. This is normal hourly product order, or a block order. Block order is when you have more hours in a row. So if you want to put normal order, you need to download this Excel file, and you have all your data here. And price steps, you can write 200 price steps from -500 to 4,000. -500 is the lowest price that you can sell or buy electricity, and then the price gets negative. And 4,000 is the maximum price you can put in one bid. And you have here 24 hours or 24 products that you can actually trade on. So if you want to put, I don't know, for example, order to 20 euros, you want to buy 10 megawatts, you will put it like that. This is like a range where you say that you want to buy electricity from -500 to 20 euros. Maximum that you would like to give for electricity is 20 euros. After that, you don't want to buy it anymore. Just here, our algorithm calculates it linearly. So if the price would be, I don't know, for example, 100 euros, then you can still get some electricity. So you need to actually like limit yourself to the lowest price possible. So you put here 20.01 that you don't want to buy it anymore. This is like a limit for a trade. After that, you are sure that you will not buy any electricity above 20 euros. If you want to sell electricity, I don't know, for hour 5, for example, from 20 euros above, you're always putting the range. You cannot put the unique price. You're putting the range from to. So you want to sell 10 megawatts from 20 euros. You will put it like this. Again, zeros here. This means that if the price would be, I don't know, 20 euros, you will sell 10 megawatts. If price would be 100 euros, you will still get 10 megawatts and so on. But again, you need to cover yourself with the lowest price possible that you would like to give. You don't want to pay for the electricity you will sell. That's why we're putting here the limit to the lowest possible limit, that with 19.99 you don't want to give electricity anymore. This is basically it. People have it's developed via API, so they don't write it in hand like I did it now. But actually, when you finalize it, you just save it, upload it back on our platform. It validates it, submit it, and that's it. The trade is inside the platform. This block product, for example, here from 4 to 1 to 2 o'clock, actually, you put 50 megawatts for each hour. The block product actually means that it needs to be fulfilled completely. You cannot, with this order, you cannot buy just 1 hour. You can only have it all or nothing. So, the price is calculated as an average price from those hours, from 4 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock at midday. They will calculate the average hourly price, and this will be like a reference price of your block order. After, as I said, the gate closure time for this platform is 12 o'clock every day. After 12 o'clock every day, you cannot put orders in the platform anymore. And at 1 o'clock, the results are already available. You can click here on the results side. You can see what did you buy or sell or whatever. And this is basically it. And for example, we can maybe check for the, here we made some, we had an auction for 27th, but I cannot check the results, sorry. I thought it would be possible. Anyhow, this is basically it for the day ahead auction. Okay. These are all the products that are possible inside this platform. And what I showed you were the hourly orders and regular block orders. You can also put profile block order. It goes in the same way as I put it in the platform a minute ago, but you can have different volumes. So you can have, I don't know, from hour 4 to 5 you can buy 20 megawatts, from hour 6 to 7 you can buy 10 megawatts, and so on. You can change your volume over the day. And link block order, this is the block order where you can actually link one to another. For example, if you have reversible hydropower plant, is it reversible now? Okay. If you need to buy electricity and sell it in the different parts of the day. So if you are making the purchase overnight, you can put one block order in those hours to buy cheaper electricity at night. And if you succeed in accepting this order, then you will also sell in different hours when the electricity is higherly priced. And these are then linked block orders because one cannot be accepted without the other. And now just to explain the intraday market, this is the continuous trading, so you can continuously trade over the entire day until 30 minutes prior to the delivery of electricity itself. Every day we open, at 3 o'clock we open the products for the whole next day, and then you can trade until those 30 minutes before the delivery. What you can trade with are again hourly orders, hourly block orders, and we have additionally from this year 15-minute orders only on this market, intraday market. It is a more lively platform because the trading is happening all the time. You will be able to see it later. Some members have access also and they are testing it every day, so maybe somebody will trade actually at the moment I will show it to you. These are all the countries that are working in this coupled intraday European market. They all joined in different time frames. So the first one were in 2018, we joined in 2019 as a second wave. Then Italy joined in 2021 and Greece and Slovakia in 2022. The volume on intraday market is lower than on day ahead market for our members. They traded last year around 1.5 terawatt hours of electricity, which is an average in each hour around 168. If you remember, I told you that on day ahead the amount is around 7.3 terawatt hours, so it is much bigger than on intraday. We have on this graph, you can see that actually those are all transactions concluded on Cropex with different countries. So what does it mean in that coupled market? That you can trade with any other country. And you cannot see the exact member with whom you traded with, but you can see the flag in the platform, so you know with which country you actually concluded the transaction. And this is the proof that it actually works, because we had transactions with all connected countries in this market coupling project. This is for the buy side, same goes for the sell side. So 25 countries, and we traded with them all. The prices on intraday market reached the similar heights as on the ahead market due to the same facts as COVID crisis, Ukraine war, and so on. And the volume also in the same way was really low at the beginning when we were operating just as an isolated country, just in Cropex members could trade only with the other Croatian members. No possibility of importing or exporting electricity. After coupling with the rest of Europe, the volume increased in the same way, COVID, war, and so on. These are the 15-minute products that we introduced this year. So we have now 96 products in a day, not anymore 24. And every day actually we have some trades. Members are still just testing it, so there is no big amount of volume traded on these 15 products, but it is active and is working okay. And I'll show you the intraday platform. This is how it looks like. You can see that some people are closing the deals. This is those black marks. Here you can see which company are you. I can see everybody because I'm in an operator view, but actually you can see only yourself. And here are all the products, quarter hourly products, QH or PH product hour. From which time to time it is valid and when it will be closed. So this one will be closed at 4 o'clock or at 5 o'clock, actually, because the time is not in the same range. You can see here it's 1 hour earlier than actually it is now. On the left side you have bid, on the right side you have S side. So this is buying electricity, this is selling electricity, and if you just go close to it, you can see all the orders entered into the platform at the moment, which you can close in a minute. Here you have the quantity and the last price that was finalized, trade history, the highest and the lowest price, the last price given, day ahead price as a reference for you to know how the prices are actually moving for each hour. And here are your data of your buying and selling side. Here you can see the capacity between the borders. For us, relevant are only Maver and Elis, Hungarian and Slovenian border. You can check here also the rest, for example, Austria, Bulgaria, and so on, but they don't mean anything for us because we don't have borders with them. So here you can see how much electricity can be exported or imported to Croatia. If you, just to see if we can have any trade, no. Okay, if you just click on this in this right part, you can see all the orders that were given on the platform. If there would be any trade concluded, it would be written here, but there is none actually now at the moment. Here below you can view your orders and your trades and that were closed, completed in the last few hours. So this one, last one was completed 8 hours ago. It was given by API inside the platform, and this is a normal limit order. Price was 74, quantity 1 megawatt. They sold the electricity for the hour, for the quarter hour 39. And on the right side, you can see all the trades concluded, not only from you, but also from the rest of the members inside the platform. And as you can see, you cannot see the actual members that are buying and selling electricity, but you can see the countries with which the trade was concluded. If you want to put the order inside the platform, you can just match one that is already inside it. So you can click here, for example, this one, I can say match bid, and it immediately gives you the quantity, the price, sell side, limit means the normal order, place sell. This is it. It was not concluded, already too late. Ah, yeah, it was. A few seconds ago. So the quantity was 2, price 65.96, and it was divided on 2 orders because it was concluded with 2 different members. And both were concluded with Germany, with German bidding zone. Additionally, if you want to place order by yourself, you can just choose if you want to buy or sell. In day ahead market, you needed to put minus for selling electricity. Here you don't have to do that, you just click on buy or sell side. The quantity you want to buy, for example, and the price. And you can choose different orders. Limit order is normal order. Fill or kill, this means that it can be filled for the entire volume, for the entire 20 megawatts. And if not, it will be deleted from the platform immediately. So it will not stay in the platform after you put it inside. Immediate or cancel, this is the order that can be filled partially for the highest volume that is available, and the rest will be removed from the platform. And iceberg order, this is an order where you can divide your order to smaller clips. For example, you have a huge amount of volume and you don't want to impact the price of the volume for that hour. So you say, I don't know, I have 100 megawatts and the smallest clip can be of 5 megawatts. So you can put the clip quantity of 5 megawatts, which is the smallest one, the price and the price change, which means that every 5 megawatts, the other one that will be shown again will have the lower price for 50 cents. So the first clip will be 5 megawatts, 100 euros. The next one, 5 megawatts, 99.50 euros, and so on. And until the whole 100 megawatts would be filled, the order will still reappear in the platform. You again put place order, and you can see that I filled all of them actually. With the difference in this part, you can check the states with Spain, with Norway, Sweden, and so on. And this is it. actually for this one you can download all your trades and orders just for a report for yourself, for payment and so on.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If the prices can be negative, then what stops me from just placing a bid to get the money and get the electricity and wait for the prices to be positive and just generate free money?
Yeah, that's good, but you need the other side. So somebody needs to offer you the price of minus 100 euros.
What, someone eventually will?
If someone will, if they really need to sell it. Usually the most negative prices are happening on day ahead market, but they also do happen in this intraday market. But on day ahead market, you are actually risking that if you're putting the range, you will always, of course, put the range of buying from minus 500 to, I don't know, some amount that you are willing to pay, because it's logical for you to get the electricity for the lowest amount possible. But if you're selling, you will not put the sell side for minus 500. You will put it, I don't know, from €1 above.
Okay, but if I can just put like a request from, I don't know, minus infinity to 0 and just place that request every day, eventually I will get the money and the electricity for nothing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's
Isn't
possible.
that cheat code illegal or something?
This is not illegal. It's possible. It cannot be minus billion, but the limit on intraday is minus 9,999. But it never happened like that. Usually the biggest amounts on intraday were around minus 100. And on day ahead actually it went to minus 500. So on intraday you are putting the smallest amount of electricity that you need actually. You're trying, your idea is actually to cover yourself in a long term. So you are trading with the biggest part of your needs on long-term contracts, on those futures and forwards. Then in day ahead market, you are just making those smaller parts like to balance yourself. Because every day you need to give to hops and hrote, you need to give your schedule of production and consumption of electricity, and you need to be in balance every day. Because if you're not in a balance, you're paying some fees that are really actually highly priced. So on the ahead market, you're trying to balance yourself, and then if you see in this day time frame that you're not in a good balance, you will just make those small parts of electricity that you need to still balance on intraday. So this will not be some huge amount that you can buy or sell on that platform.
But I can trade on this platform just as a regular Joe without any company or anything.
No, you need to have free agreements with hrote, with hops, with yeah, you need to pay additional payment is 45,000 euros to be able to trade on Cropex. So yeah.
I have another question. Are those iceberg orders, are they immediately visible in the order book, like
No, you just see the first clip.
Okay,
Then
so
after it is closed, the other one is shown again.
Okay.
Yeah. This is why they cover themselves from changing the price. If you would put like a huge amount, then it will of course impact the price itself.
Okay.
Yeah. And additionally, also we have an authority called Acer that is actually checking all the transactions that you're putting inside the platform. So you're not really able to trade, to manipulate the market itself. You need to give all the transactions every day in their platform, and they are checking if they are regular and if they are done without any inside information of closing the power plant or so on. So you're able to play a bit, but not a lot.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The call option market, before pre-day, what's the term?
Which one? Inside the day or the day before?
Before the day.
Day ahead market.
Day ahead. Okay. So how is the settlement price determined? Is it one consistent price that matches supply and demand and only takes half of suppliers, half
Yes, the one price that is actually intersection of the all summed demand and supply curves.
So if I were to bid, say, a price that's above the settlement price, I would get it on the settlement price, not the price that I bid.
Yes, if you are buying electricity until 20 euros and the price is 100 euro, then you will not get it at all.
Okay, but if I bid 100 and the price is 80, will I get it for 80?
You will get it for 80, yeah.
And how does the congestion and the cross-border delivery affect the volume actually being delivered by the futures realized on the day-ahead market? So if I bought a block of 20 megawatts, am I guaranteed to receive those 20 megawatts?
Yes, yes, this is just the economical transaction of the electricity. You will still get the normal electricity as you're getting it every day, and you will, but this is just like financial part of transaction that needs to be concluded. And if you are, for example, producing less or consuming more than you traded, then you will need to pay this fee to HOPS that needs to balance the system. And he's actually obliged to balance the system every day for every hour. And he's actually how to say, doing this balancing market that
Clearing and settlement kind of thing?
no clearing and settlement, but he's trading. He has this primary, secondary, tertiary regulation that is balancing the market every day. Like if you're, this is the for the electricity itself, but here you can be imbalanced financially, but then you need to pay the fee to HOPS. But you will get the electricity that you're trading for.
So doesn't necessarily influence the price on the financial market in any way?
It influences because if there is a congestion, then as I said, as I showed there in a graph, where between the two borders you have, for example, Croatia and Slovenia. In Croatia is lower price, in Slovenia is a higher price. And the Croatia will then export the electricity to Slovenia, and it will lower the price in Slovenia. But if then the congestion happens, the price will not be the same. You will still get some price spread between the two borders.
Right, so the arbitrage is limited by
the available capacity. Yeah. Okay, so those are the orders that I already explained on the intraday market. And as I said, from 2021, we have the possibility for our members to automatically use this application programming interface for trading on both day-ahead and intraday market. Mostly they're using it for intraday market because it's closer to the delivery time itself, 30 minutes prior delivery. And it is of course helping all our members to conclude the transactions in a more accurate way, to play a bit more with prices and to trade actually 24/7. They don't have to look on the platform all the time. They can just program a solution and just changing it in line with the rest of orders set inside the platform. We have some independent software vendors that are providing their solutions for our members. So we do not offer solutions for them, but we have additional those software vendors that are actually helping them for price, of course. And they are using their solutions, or they are developing their own, like you will do it in a few days. And considering this clearing and settlement part, so the CROPEX is a central counterparty between the sellers and the buyers. It takes a risk from sellers and the buyers in terms of this financial settlement. So on one side we have sellers, on one side we have buyer. Sellers sells the electricity to Cropex, and the buyer then gets again the electricity from Cropex. They do not need to conclude any contracts between themselves, but they are having the contracts with us. Cropex is obliged to provide the buyers with their invoices and also the sellers with self-invoices. So we are giving the invoices actually to ourselves in order to the process to be quicker. And the buyer will get the money, will give the money for the electricity 1 day after the delivery itself, and the seller will get the money 2 days after the delivery. This is how we actually lower our risk of non-payments and so on. And this is it. And now I made a small test for you to see if you listen or not. So you can just let me know when I can start if you're all set up. Yeah? Okay. I think that's it, huh? No? Still coming.
I think there should be 15 plus.
Okay. Okay, that's it. No? 14, okay?
Yeah, I think you can start.
Okay. Really good. Sorry. Mr. Powerwide, congrats. Okay, so Hobbs and Grote are our owners. Next one. $12 is for the ahead market. For intraday is 30 minutes prior to the delivery. So it depends from the product you are buying or selling. You can trade with hourly and block products on day ahead market. And on intraday we have one additional. Okay. So yeah, correct. So 15-minute products for intraday market additionally. Good job. Fill or kill, so entirely concluded or deleted from the platform. So we do offer API connectivity. And the last one. Clearing house, we do our finances on our own, or is somebody else doing it for us? Yeah, we are doing it on our own. Congrats, let's see who is the winner. Is it somebody here or? Ante. Let's throw, huh? Bravo. Congrats. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have some more questions, you can send email or contact me anyhow.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi guys. So today we're going to present about the power system fundamentals, but before we start, just a quick couple of words of introduction. We imagined this lecture to be as a pre-lecture for the upcoming lecture that will be held on Thursday by our partners who are actually system operator in the power system. So if you have any questions maybe that are more specific, and if we won't be able to disclose them or something, feel free to write them down and feel free to be sure to ask them on Thursday. Before that, the whole concept of this lecture was imagined to be a brief intro, and we want to make you do your own research, actually. That's the reason why we did that. You will hear a lot of new concepts. Some of them have already been mentioned in the lecture before. But yeah, again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us. And again, if you have any questions about the hackathon itself, feel free to hit me up. Here is Zvone. Zvone is our technical chief technology officer. Milan is by his side. Lara is our co-chief operating officer, with Maya, our physicist, who isn't with us today. And yeah, if you have any questions, suggestions, please do feel free to ask. So yeah, without further ado, I will give my word to my colleague Philip, who will start this lecture. And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you, Sven. Hi guys, my name is Philip. Let me just get my notes. So, as Sven told us, today we're gonna introduce you guys to the basics of power systems. And you guys are here for a hackathon. You guys are mostly programmers, so you probably don't care about voltages and currents. But the entire electrical energy system is so interconnected that I think having some basic understanding is still a good thing. So let's just start off by thinking about when you turn on the lights in your own house, how does that electricity get to you? I mean, we all know that this electricity has to be generated somewhere. Let's say, in this example, in a wind farm. Then it has to go through a large transmission network over sometimes even hundreds of kilometers of those long cables that you may see along the highway. And then finally, there's a distribution network, which you can see around the city, which operates at much lower voltages than transmission networks. And we're going to talk a little bit more about all of these things going forward. So firstly, generation. As I said, you guys don't need to understand how nuclear energy works. But the basic concept of how electricity is generally generated is that there is some physical process which causes some heat. This heats up water, which spins turbines. They're connected to some coils, and we get electricity on the outside. Alternatively, renewable energy will sometimes go around this process and just directly spin coils, like in wind farms, as we said. And these stations are usually very far away from consumers, just because of safety reasons. It would be much more efficient to keep them close to cities, but we can't risk that happening. And as traders, a very useful framework for looking at power plants, it may be more useful to look at them in this way rather than maybe renewables and fossil fuels. You really don't care where the electricity comes from. But what you do care about usually is how quickly that a power plant can spin up and get to its maximum operating capacity. So in this way, it might be useful to think about power plants as baseload power plants, load following, and peaking power plants. Baseload ones, they can take hours or sometimes even days to power up. A good example would again be nuclear power, because it can take up from 6 to 8 hours, or in some cases even a couple days, just to get it up to maximum capacity. We have load following power plants, so they can adjust their output throughout the day. A good example of this would be, as I wrote here, gas or hydroelectric. Hydroelectric, it's very intuitive. You can just let more water go through, and you'll be generating more electricity. And finally, we have peaking power plants. This is usually gas power plants or some other form of fossil fuels. These ones are used maybe just to illustrate as there's a transition going towards renewable energy. Renewable energy is usually not very reliable. For example, if there's no wind blowing in a certain region at a certain time, and we always keep a gas or a coal power plant on standby to take over if there's not enough electricity being generated. And finally, a few words about transmission and distribution. It's very efficient to transport energy along long distances at high voltages. You may be thinking to yourself, why? Well, electrical engineering tells us that if you have a large current, you're going to have a lot of heat losses in a wire. So it's much more efficient to use transformers to get electricity to a very high voltage and then transport it along large distances and on that way have very small losses of only about 2%. And then use another transformer when the electricity arrives to a city to step the voltage down. Typical values in Croatia are around 400 kilovolts, I believe, for the transmission network, and then the distribution network would be around 30 to 40 kilovolts. And in total, we usually lose about 10% of the power that we generated along this process, and it's usually the power plant's responsibility to make up for that power. If you needed 100 kilowatt hours, they would have to deliver 110 kilovolt hours just to make up for this loss. And maybe just, to get a better understanding, a good analogy would be the human body, where the heart would be like a power plant, which pumps blood, or electricity in this case. Arteries would be the transmission network, because they transfer long distances and larger amounts, or higher voltages, rather. And then finally, we would have capillaries, which deliver blood to the end user, or to cells, in the case of biology, or to consumers and households in the case of electrical power. And now the most important rule about electrical power systems is that supply always has to be equal to demand. And you guys will see along the rest of our presentation that this is what everybody in the electrical energy system aims to achieve at every point. Because in Europe, for example, electricity operates at 50 hertz. When you plug your computer into a wall outlet, 50 hertz has to be transformed into DC power. And let's imagine that at any point in time, there were too many people trying to get electricity and too little electricity being generated. In this case, the frequency of the network would start dropping, for example, to 48 hertz. This would be a very big problem because all the appliances in your house, like your laptop, your refrigerator, whatever, they're all designed to work within very tight tolerances. And if the frequency of the network dropped to 48 hertz, which almost never happens, most of the stuff in your house would just stop working. And we're really trying to avoid this, and as I said, we'll see everybody works very hard to keep supply equal to demand at all times. So okay, now we talked a lot about sort of the infrastructure of the power system, and now we can think about who else is part of this process of getting power to your house. Now obviously we have end consumers, which is you, me, our households, universities, any public lighting, whatever. We have producers, which are companies which own power plants. We have system operators. There's usually a distribution system operator and a transmission system operator. Sometimes they can be the same company. In Croatia, this is HOPS, which is one of our partners, and you'll be hearing from them. You have suppliers. We're going to talk about who they are, but in Croatia, this is the companies that operate in the space are HEP, Opskrba, Genai, Eon, and others. And finally, we have traders, or you guys. So suppliers, if you're not already familiar, when you want to get electricity to your own house, one way of going about this would be to directly have a contract with, for example, in Zagreb, nuclear energy plant Krško. But that really wouldn't make a lot of sense because there's around 1 million people living in Zagreb, and I don't think it's in any company's interest to have 1 million contracts, each for about 40 euros a month. So in order to avoid this sort of complicated situation, we have suppliers. These are dedicated companies which aggregate thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of users. They make contracts with these end users, and then they procure energy on the market for you at any time without you having to worry about when and how much power you need or want. And to us as consumers, this whole process is basically invisible because you just get a bill for a couple, maybe 10 or 40 or 50 euros at the end of each month. But these suppliers actually play a very important role. Then next we have the system operator. So the system operator is in charge of maintaining the infrastructure for getting power from a power plant to the end user. But this is actually maybe even a less important role that they have. The more important role is, as we discussed already, they're the ones in charge of balancing supply and demand. So, for example, in the case that I mentioned earlier, if there's too little power being generated, the system operator. The system operator is actually the one who is going to pay any idle power plants in the surrounding area to deliver their power to the network. And usually if there's a surplus or a lack of energy being generated, it can either be somebody's fault because there was a contract and somebody was supposed to deliver power but they didn't, or it can just be that there was unexpectedly high demand. So if it's the first case where there's somebody who's responsible, then the system operator is going to charge that person who is responsible. And if there's just a surprising amount of demand at any point, then it's the system operator's job to pay for that extra energy that was needed. And they do this by charging the end consumer a small fee on every bill that they pay. That's how they finance themselves, because it's very important for the system operator to be independent of the other members of the electrical power network, because it would just create a very unfair situation if they profited in any way. So then I think we're starting to get a little bit of a better picture of how the whole network works, and now it's maybe a good time to think about what are we actually trading here, because we know that energy isn't something tangible. You can't buy a bag of energy. So what you guys as traders are actually trading is just contracts for delivery, right? So let's say, again, in the example with the nuclear power plant Krško, which we have close to Zagreb, a trader could go up to them and tell them, I want 1 kilowatt hour of power tomorrow at 5 p.m. You guys would sign a contract, you would pay them to deliver this power, and you're relying on them actually delivering this power at that time. So the two types of contracts that we usually trade is either spot trading, where we trade for the upcoming hour, and spot trading is usually organized 24 hours a day. So before each hour, you would go into the market, you would trade, and there is a certain time when the market closes, and at that time there needs to be a balance of supply and demand. Or we could trade futures. You could technically go and buy power 10 years in advance, but how much sense this makes, that's up to you. And then maybe just to think about what trading actually goes on. In a typical example, as we already said, if you needed electricity, you would probably in Zagreb go to HEP Opskrba. You would make an agreement with them that they supply you with energy, and you as a consumer don't think about this process any further. Then they would be the ones doing the trading for you 24 hours a day, so that you can turn on the lights in your house whenever you want. And they, as a supplier, they would be buying electricity either from another trader on the market or directly from some producer of power. And this supplier, again, has purchased a contract of delivery, not actual energy. And finally, we have electricity exchanges. So these contracts, this electricity, can be bought either over the counter, just by directly talking to any one of the other actors on the market, or you have dedicated exchanges. In Croatia, the exchange is Kropex, which you've already heard about. And all producers at the closure of every exchange, every hour, they have to report plant production to the system operator, just so that they can keep a balance of supply and demand at all time. And to wrap my part of the presentation up, we have a graph that describes sort of this process. It's a little convoluted, but the blue arrows, they describe the actual physical flow of energy. And as you can see, that's the most simple part of this whole process. You have a producer, and they deliver power to the end user through a transmission and distribution network. Then finally, we have these full arrows, which describe the energy that's needed to cover losses during transmission and distribution, which I've already mentioned. And as you can see, that's the responsibility of the producers. We have these arrows going all around the place. And this is just all the different contracts for delivery that are being traded around all the time, constantly. And finally, we have contract scheduling, which I just mentioned on the last slide, where all of the actors in the market have to report to the transmission system operator so that they can keep a balance of supply and demand at any time. Okay, I'm handing it off to Karol now.
Thanks, Philip. I'm going to continue from here. So the first thing I want to talk to you about today is special characteristics of electricity as a commodity. The first question we have to ask ourselves is electricity actually a commodity? And the short answer is yes. Yes, it is, but it has some very special characteristic that differs it from regular commodities that we all think about, like gold or oil. So the first characteristic is electricity in transport behaves according to natural laws. It does not follow the intended contracted transport routes. That basically means that we cannot order electricity, and we cannot order electricity which way it's supposed to go to the end consumer. The next characteristic is that electric energy cannot be stored in economically sufficient quantities. It must be consumed, and as soon as it is produced. The first thing that comes to mind is, of course, we can store it, there's batteries, but as colleague Sven will explain later, batteries don't actually store electric energy, they store chemical energy, and electric energy is almost impossible to store in economic quantities. The next characteristic is end consumers are practically unable to react to price signals in real time, and this contributes to considerable price volatility and very current elasticity of demand. What that means is none of us, when we want to turn on our washing machine or dryer, nobody is looking at current market prices of electricity to decide at which point it would make the most economic sense to turn on their washer. We just turn it off and don't really think about the prices of electricity, but they vary through the day drastically. The next characteristic is, in the real time, it is impossible to control the flow of energy to the customer because he consumes as much as his turned on devices consume and not as much as he has contracted with the supplier, which also reduces the current elasticity of demand and increases the volatility of prices in real time. And I think this one is probably the most intuitive out of all of them. The next thing I want to talk about is demand. First of all, it should be said that the quantity demand of electricity is very variable in time, as you can see on this graph, and that it depends to a large extent on the personal uncoordinated will of many individual energy consumers to switch on and off their appliances. Only a small part of total consumption of electrical energy is coordinated between some large consumers and with the transmission system operator, and that is only when it comes to consumption management. You can see here that, please notice that there is one function that represents the plan that is planned a day before, and the reality is almost hits it to the spot, but there are always some deviations. The supplier, of course, estimates consumption based on various experience criteria and models, which include extrapolation and coordination from previous hours, taking into account changes in atmospheric conditions, which I will explain later, have a really big impact on the prices of electrical energy compared to, for example, the same hour before or the day before, the week before, and etc. There are a large number of factors that influence customer spending. For example, economic factors. The first one is the presence of industrial consumers, and the second one being tariff systems. If there are economic initiatives in the tariff system, like price differences at different times of the day, the load diagram showed on the graph can be designed so that, first of all, it reduces the peak loads at the most times, and night consumption increases during the nights where we see the consumption of electrical energy is at its lowest point in the day. And of course there is meteorology has an impact on seasonal variations like climate, and medium-term and short-term changes in system load like sudden changes in weather, especially temperatures or cloudiness within the day or week, month, it doesn't matter. And air temperature is very important determinant of demand, like we use air conditioning during the hot summer days and home furnaces during the cold winters, and daily rhythm of industry and population activities. Like we see during the business hours, the consumption of electrical energy is at its highest point, while at the night there is only some industries that are still working 24/7. and extraordinary events. This is my favorite example because it's the most intuitive. For example, television broadcast. In the times of FIFA World Cup, probably every TV in Croatia is turned on and watching the game, and that really spikes up the demand. And the operator has to estimate that in advance, which can be really hard at times. Next, what are the effects in changes in demand? Well, here's an example. As I've said, at example 4 o'clock, the public is asleep. Only some industries are working 24-hour shifts, and there are the constant appliances like freezers and refrigerators that are always on. And then as we get to 7 o'clock in the morning, everyone wakes up, goes to work, business hour starts. We heat up our home furnaces and stuff like that. Then at 12 o'clock, then at midday, it's the usual daily activities. It's the peak of the business hours. Then after at 6 o'clock, everyone is coming home. They are turning on their home appliances like dishwasher and other utilities, whatever. And at midnight, everybody goes to sleep, and home furnaces and stuff like that, maybe not, they're at least turned down. The next thing I want to talk about is demand, more specifically elasticity. The elasticity of demand refers to the degree of which demand responds to a change in an economic factor, and the economic factor mostly used in most economic models is price, but it can be any factor, it doesn't really matter, but for this presentation we're going to use only price. Now the elasticity of demand for electricity is generally low, especially in the spot markets. The more the moment of purchase precedes the real time in which energy will actually be physically produced and consumed, the greater the elasticity of demand, because energy buyers have more time and opportunities to obtain alternative offers or to correct their own consumption. Despite the fact that on the spot market the individual demand is so low that we can also model it as perfectly elastic, as seen here. It is a horizontal line. An insight into the supply and demand curve on any liquid electricity exchange will show that aggregated demand, like showed here, which is created by joint action of numerous traders who buy energy even at the spot market, is not perfectly inelastic, but actually has a normal falling downwards flow. And so how can we explain this phenomenon? It shows how from these 5 individual demand functions, all of which are individually perfectly inelastic, a resulted downward sloping market demand function arises. Given the firms A, B, C, D, and E on the slide, they have different preferences to prices dependent on the demand. For example, you see they all have different preferences to prices. When we line them up like this, we see that the normal demand hours function arises. And the methods used to estimate the individual electricity of demands are firstly econometric analysis that relate the demand for electricity and its unit prices based on historical data. Next are survey questionnaire, by means which customers are asked to evaluate their behavior on consumption for electricity in case of a certain % price change, and that basically surveys that ask people how would they react if a price would go up 2% or go down 2%, how would their demand on electricity change. And the third is experimental determination of elasticity using the installation of meters intended for testing, while enabling customers to react to price signals. So if we go, the first thing I said, in that case you would be able actually to look at the market prices, the spot market prices of electricity, and if the prices are relatively high at that time, you would maybe think twice about using your washer or dryer, while at the night, when we expect prices to be lower, you would maybe turn them on. Therefore, the demand for electricity in any case is inelastic, as we concluded, and this is a feature that significantly favors the emergence of large market powers and its abuse for the electricity markets. For this reason, it is generally considered desirable to reduce the inelasticity of electricity consumption by implementing the two basic ways of non-forced intervention. That is encouraging customers' responsiveness to price signals, which usually undertaken by transmission system operators, regulators, and the state itself. Well, the first non-forced method would be load management. So the customers allowed the possibility for the system operator to partially or in full turn off their electricity. And this method, of course, requires a real-time measurement and management. And the other one would be a design of tariff systems. So what would you actually do would you would charge people more than the market price for the electricity in the peak hours, and you would give some sort of a discount during the night or the times where the grid is not really loaded, and you would want to pump up the demand using like give them using discounts. And now I will give my word to
Thanks, Carlo. Just heads up, some of the things that have been said, wink wink, might be useful to you for the problem statement that we will introduce you on Friday. I will now talk about the market price formation, which is a more technical part. Martina, who previously held the lecture, mentioned that, but she did that almost briefly. I will go into some more of technical details. So, imagine you're a system operator. In the power system, you have buyers, and you have suppliers, and you have those who spend electricity. All of the suppliers, the players who generate power, they're obliged to send some type of data to the power system operator, in other words, to the regulator. In our case in Croatia, the regulator is Croatian Operator of Distributed Systems, or HOPS. And what actually you can see here, we have 5 different power plants. We have renewables, nuclear, coal, oil, and gas power plants. They're obliged to send for the following upcoming day at some given time. Let's say for the next day at 4 o'clock, they are obliged to estimate how much of quantity of electricity they will produce, and they as well estimate at which price level will they sell it. So they send those data to our power system, to our system operator. So, for example, as we can see here, renewables, they estimate for the following day at some time, at some given time, at some certain point in time, they will generate 800 units of energy. Nuclear will generate 600 units of energy. And what system operator does when he receives all of this data, I mean, he doesn't plot it, but we will plot it just for the case. He arranges this data in ascending order with respect to price. So, for example, here you can see the price, and yeah, by the way, how do they determine how much will they sell that energy? It's basically what they do marginal cost pricing. And marginal cost pricing, by definition, is how much would I need to pay for one more additional unit of energy given my production levels, which in an example theoretically means you looked at your fixed cost, your variable costs, you add them up, and you price it at that level. So what they do, they use marginal. I mean, it's not. You can look at it. It's not by definition the most precise thing, but give me the benefit of the doubt or whatever. But the true thing is they do marginal pricing. So renewables, as you can see, have the lowest marginal price, since basically solar and wind are free. You don't need to produce one more unit of power from wind and solar, there's no any additional incurring costs. And basically that's why the marginal costs are really low for renewables. To return back to the core thing, what system operator does, it arranges those prices in ascending order. Renewables can supply the whole power system up till 800 units of quantity. Then we add up cumulative. Nuclear, who is next in our series, they can supply the power system up with more 600 units of energy. So the total amount, the cumulative amount of energy supplied with renewables and nuclear is 1,400. And you do this thing for the whole list of those who send you your data. That's the first thing. The second thing, when you have all the data plotted, formed in ascending order, what system operator does, he uses some sophisticated methods to estimate the demand that will be at that certain point in the following day. In our case, our system operator estimated that in the following day there will be around 1,700 units of energy demanded, and here this is plotted as a completely vertical line on our plot. So again, how market price is formed? Well, simply market price is formed by looking at the intersection of the ascending prices where the supply curve matches the demand curve. The intersection point is the market price for the whole power system. And the cool thing is that that market price will be uniform for all the suppliers of energy. What that means is that all of those guys who are located left with respect to the market price, so in our case renewables, nuclear and coal power plants, since they price their energy produced at levels of their marginal costs, which are lower than the market price, when they will start trading or selling it in our market, they will eventually gain profits, since their marginal costs are lower than the market price. And in that way, if this is something that's ubiquitous. It's not only specific to the power system. What system operator does, since demand, cumulative demand, cumulative supply, always needs to be equal to the demand. All of those guys will be dispatched into the power system. So at that point in time, the following day, they will start trading. They will start generating electricity. And those guys who are positioned right in respect to the market price and the intersection point, two things can happen to them. First thing that can happen, the power system can exclude them for the system. The system operator can exclude them for the power system. So since demand always needs to be equal to supply, and the second thing is that's costly for them. So for the coal power, so for the gas power plant, they don't have really any incentive to generate their electricity, their power, since their marginal costs are higher than the market price. So even if they start generating power at that level, per each sale they will actually earn a loss, which isn't profitable for them. And also, it's not profitable for them to be excluded from the market at that given point in time, because afterwards they will need to have a re-entrance in the system, and that's costly for them. It's really expensive. So they came up with an idea. They come to the system operator, and basically they tell them, listen, big boss, I really don't want to be excluded from the game, from the power system. What I will do, I will oblige myself. I will pay someone to take my energy. I will pay someone to take my energy that I will be generating. So in our artificial way, I will basically generate increased demand. And those are two kinds of pay. I will discuss this more in a detail. And basically, yeah, this is how the market price formation is formed, and it's in this context it's called merit order. And those are actually the orders we have, pricing quantities. Those are two data points that are being sent to the system operator. Fun fact, as you can see, we already said that renewables have quite low marginal prices, since basically to produce one more additional unit of energy, it's quite low, since wind and solar are basically almost free. If you increase the number of renewables in the system, let's just imagine that case. What will happen? The amount of quantity supplied would increase. And with an increase of quantity supplied, what will ultimately happen? If demand curve stays the same, you would actually have lower market prices. So with an increase of renewables in the system, the market price tends to decrease, tends to fall. So that's just an interesting case to mention. So yeah, okay. As I've said, this merit order or market price formation, it's not unique only to the power system. It's ubiquitous. For example, if you have, let's say we have two farmers. One is selling his goods and services for $2, and his neighbor, who is less efficient than him, is selling his goods and services for $10. The one who is more inefficient, he will sell it. He will sell his if the more inefficient neighbors, if he has marginal cost of production $10, he would at least sell it for $10. And the one who is more efficient, who has marginal cost of $2, he will also sell it for at least $10 because, first of all, he can, and second of all, yeah, he can. He basically can, because if he sells it for $10, it doesn't make sense for the efficient guy to sell it for a lesser price, since the price is uniform for all. Marginal pricing is not an artificial rule. It's a form of, I would say, cost-based pricing system. It happens a lot in the market. And this model itself is descriptive. It's not prescriptive because it happens a lot. It happens continuously at each point in time, every minute. But the whole thing is quite dynamic. It fluctuates a lot, but the principle stays the same. Now about the negative prices of electric energy. One of the main core principles of the power systems, one of the main fundamentals, is that the power of all generators must at all times correspond to the power of all consumers connected to the system, which translated means demand needs to always be equal to supply at any given point in time. And that's why you have a regulator who controls this situation. If, for example, you will have more demand of energy than it is being supplied, what would happen? You wouldn't be able to turn off any of your household devices. In other case, if you have more energy that's being generated and less demand, probably all cities around us would burn eventually, since the frequency of the electric current increases and therefore voltage, and everything will go extinct, basically. And that's why it's really, for the whole infrastructure, it's really important for the system to be balanced. And then it has a lot to do with the okay, so I will just briefly discuss some Germany case. What happens a lot in Germany. Germany has a lot of renewables, especially over the last couple of years. They increased a lot their numbers of renewables. And besides renewables, what also Germany has mountains. And in the nighttime, strong winds can blow in the night times, and what actually happens is, since you cannot control, since renewables have variable type of production. You cannot control them. If wind is blowing, it will generate electricity. Since Germany has a lot of mountain regions, when it's nighttime, oftentimes strong wind is blowing and the electricity is produced. Okay, so this is odd. Okay. I will just, no, it's fine.
Sorry. Okay. You want to proceed in this one?
Yeah, you can. Thanks. Okay, I don't know why. I skipped this actually. Yeah, okay, I don't know why for some reason one slide has been skipped. I will return back to it, but I will just finish this Germany case. So in the nighttime, since electricity is being generated, there is more supply than demand. Since all of the country, all of the region probably sleeps at night and nobody does anything, there is low demand for the electricity. As a result, you have larger amounts of electricity generated than demand, and that's a problem. And as I've said previously, as I've mentioned previously, what should we do about it? Since system always needs to be in a balance, there are two types of things what system operator should do or can do. One of the things a regulator can do, it can do load shedding. And load shedding means we could or should exclude all of those suppliers that are generating electricity. And usually those are the big ones, the coal power plants, oil power plants, and so on. So that's one type of way we can solve this problem. But as I previously said, it's costly, it's inefficient for them. The second thing is some came up with an idea that we can actually store that energy in some batteries or something. But the problem is, at the moment we store electricity into batteries, that's no longer electricity because batteries store chemical energy, they don't store electricity. So what should we do? What's the third solution? The third solution, what we should do, is those guys came up with an idea. They said that we should pay someone to buy our excess energy that we will supply. And what that means in an economic perspective, in a natural exchange, I, as a seller, I give you my goods and services for a certain price. So I value my goods and services, and therefore you pay for it. In this case, I devalue my goods and services, so I eventually pay you to take my goods and services, to take my excess energy. And in that way, I'm artificially increasing demand. So at the end, we end up with the same amount of energy supply and demand. Those types of things are reflected on the market as a negative prices, since you actually devalue your energy, your goods and services, and the price tends to go below zero. So that's a solution, and those are some of the ways the system can be kept balanced. I plot a graph here that shows the 24-hour price of electricity, the 24-hour price of electricity in Germany. I took this data somewhere from 2016. It shows the 24-hour time span. So as you can see, mostly during the night time, electricity tends to go below zero, and yeah, it happens a lot. So, I mean, negative prices are not a problem per se. They only tend to make market more volatile. And with an increase of renewables, there has been an increase of the amount of days where you have negative prices on the market. So yeah, that's just to clarify those things. And I think yeah, I think we're actually done for this part of the presentation. Yeah, so if you have any, yeah. I actually returned to that slide, but we can actually, I mean, I can go over it once more. Oh. I think we skipped this part. Oh. I'm not an iOS guy. Yeah. I think you mentioned for this slide. I mean, we skipped this slide, but I already have discussed it. So yeah. That's it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. And be sure, the main part I should mention is start doing research. Start learning on your own. We can provide you some of the resources that we read through. One of the good books I can suggest is from Steven Soft. He's an expert in this field. So if you are interested in the economics of the power system, be sure to check him. And yeah, I hope this was useful to you guys. So I will give you my word to Luka. He will now discuss about how renewables increase the economic growth of the European Union countries.
Oh, we're about to see about that. So don't get your hopes up.
Okay, big guy.
Thank you so much. Let me just set up my presentation. I think I got it. Okay, so my presentation is, like Sven said, you should do your own research, but I'm gonna help you out a bit. Because my presentation is all about renewable energy. Does it actually work? Does it actually stimulate anything? Is it worth investing in solar panels, as you can see on the roof of there? So that's what this is all about. This is essentially, I gathered a huge data set representing various economic variables as well as renewable energy variables. And then I tried to figure out, is there a relationship there? Is it possible to have economic growth stimulated by renewable energy? Is it strategic to have renewable energy as your source of power? All in this we'll try to figure out, okay? We'll start with the background, with the context of how much money is being poured into renewable energy. How does the energy market look like? We'll proceed to how this market looks in the EU. Okay. We'll go into some regulation, but not too much. We'll proceed to something called economic complexity. Maybe some of you have heard of this variable. Okay. I have also done a regression analysis, as we can see a relationship between various variables. In the regression analysis, I have been focusing on how does each technology, how is it related to some aspect of economic growth. After that, I have done a panel analysis, and we'll start with this. So this is how much money is being poured into fossil fuels as we speak. It's almost 3 or 4 times the amount that's being poured into renewable energy. But you might be saying to yourself, okay, but how is then renewable energy relevant? I'm always hearing about solar panels. I'm always hearing about hydropower or hydrogen power. So this is why. The compounded annual growth rate of investment into renewables is growing faster than into fossil fuels. More and more money is being poured into this. Okay. Most of you probably wouldn't have guessed that China is leading this by a mile, but since China is not as transparent, we'll focus more on our home, the European Union. So that's why this little thing is not working as it should, so it's interrupting my flow, but we'll focus on the European Union. Okay, so how does this look when we consider the different sectors. Transport sector is leading the way in renewable energy. After that, we are having renewable energy in heating and cooling follow its own trend with the transport. When we are trying to figure out how do each individual countries use it, we see that Sweden is a huge user of renewable energy in transport, leading by Finland and Estonia. Keep this in mind, this is a common trend. Northern countries like Sweden, Finland, and Estonia appear a lot. Okay? So, here again, we are having renewable energy in terms of electricity generation. We have Austria, Sweden, Denmark, okay? This time Austria is leading. When we go to heating and cooling, then we also have Sweden, Estonia, and Latvia. Why do you think that is? It's because, and I'm guessing, it's because they're bordering Russia and they're trying to break free from their dependence on gas and oil. So they're focusing on something that's probably more complex, but at least it gives them that independence from Russia just turning off the pipe. And by technology, most of renewable energy is being generated by hydropower and wind energy. But hydropower is a bit controversial because although it is renewable in terms of it doesn't pollute the environment by putting something in the atmosphere that's causing CO2 emissions and causing global warming and so on the other hand, it's disturbing the flow of rivers. And it's disturbing the flow of rivers to such an extent that there are huge damages to the ecosystem. So there's always a trade back, and hydro is very controversial, especially in Europe, that's rich in streams and rivers and so on. So, when we proceed to regulation, I will just do an overview of something that the World Bank has already done. They made a RISE indicator, regulatory indicators for sustainable energy, that use different aspects of the countries for example, legal framework is exactly that. It assesses the legal readiness of the country to make the transition to renewable energy. Do they even have plans for renewable energy? Do they have financial incentives to make renewable energy a viable option? What are those attributes of those said financial incentives? How are their network connection and pricing in terms of renewable energy? Is there a counterparty risk, for example, if you're using renewable energy? Will that energy be constant? Will that energy be a solid source of power and not just shutting off when there are clouds in the sky, for example? And of course, carbon pricing and monitoring of CO2 emissions. It's hilarious to me that EU is perfect at taxing people and doing regulatory frameworks in terms of legalities. But when it's time to give money, like every country, most of the countries are in the red because it's easier to take money than give money. So that's just funny to me. So let's continue. Okay. So next up is a big variable in our later analysis, which is an economic complexity index. Economic complexity index is how much skilled labor you have, how complex is your economy in terms of production of different products, what are your access to revenues. There's a bunch of positive externalities when you have a really complex economy, like a huge labor market, knowledge spillover from one industry to the other. So you always want to have a bigger economic complexity index. And of course, Germany is leading the way. That's why most people, when they go to work, kako mi kažemo, u inozemstvo, they're always going to Germany. Well, it's because of this. It's a very big economy, it's complex. You can have your job in your own skill. Okay? So, let's go to something other than an overview of data. Let's go see how data is connected. Do they have a relationship? First thing I did is I did a bunch of correlations. And then I try to see which ones are significant, and then pick top 3 most significant and the strongest in terms of coefficient. After that, I did a median value analysis because to double check, because most of variables were very strongly connected, but my guess was because as time went on for like 60 years, everything grew. So I wanted to check median values to see if something has a bit stronger oomph to it than just time growth. So I did time series analysis and median value analysis of a huge data set. And then I picked top 3 strongest relationships by technology in each case. So when we come to, this is very scary, I know, but it's just a simple regression run over a huge data set. And we can observe some clustering around renewable energy and economic growth, if you pay close attention, and some clustering around something that would be cost of living, food price index, so inflation and renewable, something like that. On the other hand, this is a p-value heat map that tells us which variables are significant. The darker the color here, the more significant the data, because when the p-value is really low, then you have more significance. You know this from statistics. So there's a lot of significance. That's why I try to do the median regression as well. But before we go on to that, I wanted to check out the 3 strongest relationships in terms of coefficient and significance. The first thing that popped up is renewable municipal waste. It's very strongly correlated with patent application by citizens or residents. Then we went on to biogas and also patent application by residents. And the last thing was the 3rd place, took pump storage and greenhouse gas emissions. So then I did this for the median data, and there is also strong clustering approximately on the same set of variables. P-value analysis is a bit more diverse, not just everything is significant right now, but there is still a lot of significance between economic variables and renewable variables. And here we have the 3 strongest relationships in this in median data set. We also see patent application by resident and renewable municipal waste. So this occurs twice now. Okay? Biogas and patent application, residence, and pump storage and greenhouse gas emissions. Okay? So, after that, I tried to figure out the panel data analysis. First, I did GDP growth as the dependent variable, and then I did economic complexity index as dependent variable. I consider these 2 variables as the best ones to represent economic growth. GDP growth as itself is a bit, I would say, immovable variable. It's such a huge variable in terms of what is driving it that very few things directly correlate to its growth. Economic complexity index is a bit more delicate variable that can tell the future of a country more. For example, if an economy is very complex, it can be ready for a different set of scenarios in the world, especially now when every day we hear something new. So that's why I considered it, I would say it's even more important than some GDP growth. Okay. But first, let's go on to this. So this is a panel data analysis, and it's very funny to me. Everything here that is significant value has a star. The more stars it has, it is more significant as a variable. Everything here is negative, that is significant, except of greenhouse gas emissions. So the economy is driven by pollution. That would be, can be like derived from this data. And the economic complexity index, here we have a better picture, for example. Offshore winds have a negative connection, but it's very significant. A lot of variables here, especially renewable energy variables, are very significant. Hydropower is very strongly correlated with economic complexity. Biogas also, we have innovation indexes and various patent applications. All are very positively correlated with economic complexity index. But here we can see that solar, for example, that's being pushed the most, that everyone is now having solar panels, it's not having any effect on this variable. And now, there is no conclusion slide because it's up to you to derive conclusions from this data set. I have only provided you with the information that I have researched and I have tried to figure out the connections, but I will not say renewable energy is bad or good. It's up to you. You can see for yourself the data and do your own research like Sven said. Thank you so much.